strong words from President Trump for both Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky over the war in Ukraine. For months now, Trump has signaled to Putin that he is scaling back U.S. support for Ukraine. But now, in a post on social media, Trump says what Putin doesn't realize is that if it weren't for me, lots of really bad things would have already happened to Russia. And I mean really bad.
So it's a little concerning when Trump says really bad things, really, really bad. What does he mean by that? Because Russia does have the means to fire back on the U.S. I mean, they're not that far away from the U.S. And from Alaska, they're probably only about 3 or 4 miles off of the northern Alaskan shore. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that Trump doesn't mean war. At least let's hope not.
Comes as Russia launches its largest aerial bombardment since the start of the war, killing at least 30 people and injuring 140 more. White House correspondent Karen Travers joins me now. So Karen, the Trump administration has been trying to broker these peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, but the rhetoric seems to indicate that the deal isn't close. What do we really know about this?
Kira, the president has certainly been expressing his frustration with Russian President Vladimir Putin in recent days. You just read that one post talking about Putin playing with fire. That follows other messages where the president says Putin has gone absolutely crazy. And he told reporters over the weekend he does not like what Putin is doing. He says he is not happy with him at all. Now, remember, it was just a week ago, last Monday, when the president had a 2-hour phone call with the Russian president that he described as good. He thought this was moving in the right direction toward a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, and said that those conversations would begin immediately. But now the president indicating his frustration with what has happened since then. And you mentioned also President Zelensky. President Trump has not held back there too, kind of doing a little bit of both sidesing right now. The president saying that Zelensky is doing his country no favors by talking the way he does. But Kira, of course, Zelensky and Ukraine have agreed to the ceasefire. Russia has not, and the president was trying to do that last week in the phone call, and Russian President Vladimir Putin has not signed on to what Ukraine has agreed to at this point.
There you go. It doesn't sound like anybody really wants to try peace, to stop bombing, the hurting of other people, put them 6 feet under. And it's just getting worse and worse. What can we do to stop this? Should we go ahead and let Russia take the reins on this and take over that piece of land that they want? Should we try to enforce and stop Russia from taking over land that they want? What can the United States do to stop and make it peaceful for both sides? It doesn't sound like Russia really wants to play ball on peace. It sounds like they want to continue taking the land away from the Ukrainians. But what can we do about it? I don't know.
Well, Zelensky says that there's evidence that actually shows Russia is preparing for a new offensive. Trump isn't happy with Zelensky right now either. So what role will the U.S. Play here in these talks?
Last week, after the president's phone call with President Putin, he had indicated that he was going to be backing out of this process. That was when the president said that the Vatican had agreed to host conversations between Russia and Ukraine, and certainly signaled that the United States might not be taking the same role as they had been, where there were conversations with the U.S. and Russia, the U.S. and Ukraine. We heard today from the president's special envoy for Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, who said that Ukraine has submitted a document that would outline what a peace plan would look like, but that they're waiting on the Russians to submit their own plan, that they would then put these two documents together and hopefully get the sides to have a meeting. Kellogg said that at that point, they would like to see a conversation between President Trump, President Putin, and President Zelensky. Perhaps that could take place in Geneva. He did say that the Russians had refused to have a meeting at the Vatican, so it sounds like that step that the president had talked about last week is not currently on the table.
All right, I'll stand by. Karen Travers from the White House, thank you.